So, Nyx. Yes, I am doing that episode. We are talking about this, we are speculating, we're asking questions today that revolve around this accidental reveal. Thank you, Lando, once again, of new information in regards to a possible second star system that we may see an announcement for in the near future, possibly. We're going to kind of speculate on these things, and we're going to kind of, try to figure out, is this something that we're going to see in the near future, or is it something that's more off on the distant horizon? All of that stuff. So without further ado, let's get started. So the Nyx system. Now, apparently, when this originally went up on video, I did not see it. I was busy that day. I had gotten ship updates done early so that I could spend the afternoon with family. And so I only found out about this after the fact. And I saw some people had clipped the VOD, and I'd seen that, and I went, oh, whoops. I thought it was pretty funny. Do I think that this is something that is on the near horizon? Do I think that this is something that is around the corner? I kind of feel like this isn't something that's going to be like, oh man, we're going to get Nyx system for CitizenCon. Not really. I think that we might get an announcement. We might get a reveal. You have to remember that, like, at CitizenCon, in the previous CitizenCons, we saw stuff that sometimes was a year away. And so I don't feel like Nyx is something that, by the way, here's a jump portal, you're going to Nyx. I don't really think that that's something that's really going to happen for us. I think that what we're going to see is sort of, the traditional Star Citizen, here's what the future holds type video, where, Chris Roberts walks us through, sort of the same way we had the trip from Area 18 to Lorville or whatnot. And previously we had the Pathfinder demo and all of that sort of stuff. I think this is going to be one of these things. I think they're working on the assets, but as far as the assets being playable by the player base, I would love to see it. 100%, I would love to see it. But I don't think we're there yet. In all honesty, I don't think we're there yet. If I were to make a prediction as to when we would see this, if I were pressed to make a prediction, I would say no earlier than Q2 2020. That would be the release of 4.0, and I feel that would be something that would go along with the release of 4.0 very, very well. So that is what I see is going to happen, is that June, July, it varies. Next year, we're going to see the ability to travel to another star system, and Nyx looks like it's going to be the primary candidate. But Nyx is not that big of a system. There's only really 2 semi-habitable planets there. There's one planet where the core has been mined out, and there's another planet that appears to be like kind of Venusian in its habitability, so like the planet Venus. Remember, you saw the contents of like one folder. You don't know if there are other systems, because remember, there's only 2 planets there, really. Possibly some moons, but I don't remember there being moons in the Nyx system. So chances are Nyx could be one of a couple of star systems that are quite similar to, only, 1 or 2 or 3 planets in them. Stanton is kind of, Stanton isn't the standard star system in Star Citizen. A lot of the star systems are actually somewhat sparse compared to something like Stanton, which is like a large metropolis and trade hub and manufacturing hub. Other systems are not probably not going to be all that populated. So it might be that we may get a few star systems around that time. Or instead of getting, this quarter we're giving you Hurston and Lorville, next quarter we're giving you R-Corp and Area 18. Once we kind of kick open the door of other star systems, it may be that this quarter you're getting Nyx, next quarter you're getting blah, blah, blah. It could go that way, It depends on how, thickly populated with planets that star system is and how many, POIs that they want to put in those star systems. Now, how do I think that this is going to affect the game? And let's just proceed on the presumption of Nyx only right now. Let's not get too grandiose. What do I think is going to happen? Well, one of the things that a lot of people complain about with trading is that the price differentials have never been all that great. They were in the very beginning, 3.0, but a couple of patches beyond that, they really tamed it because many of us were becoming millionaires. And I think that there was probably people within CIG who were just like, look, we got to knock this down because, these guys are used to starting with 5,000 credits and then ending up with 1 million in a few play sessions. Like, they're making money hand over fist right now. And that's creating an expectation that may not be real. So maybe we should knock this right down into the ground for now and then, notch it up a little bit after that. But I think that, like, if you think about, trading within the Stanton system, right, you're not really traveling all that far. And generally there's a place that produces or manufactures everything that you need within that system. Plenty of ships going to be traveling around a system like that, so prices are probably not going to be all that different. Whereas a system like Nyx, where obviously food is not very easy to grow, you got one planet that really is kind of dead, and the only planet in the habitable zone, is kind of Venus-like, so not very hospitable to life, at least on the surface. There's probably going to be a big demand for things like food there. So if we were to use Nyx 2, which is the Venus-like planet, traveling there with food from the Stanton system and then possibly, bringing back chemicals that are harvested on that planet back to the Stanton system to be processed might be an extremely lucrative trade route in the future, just one of many possibilities. So I think that as those doors kind of open up, you're going to start to see, interstellar trade kind of overmatch the interplanetary trade that we have right now. And you might find players actually having to go and actively look at resources to see, okay, well, let's say the farms on Daymar are all tapped out. Maybe I gotta go to Chelon to pick up goods there to ship to this system. Or maybe, I've sold too many chemicals to Deacons and Yella, and now I got to take my chemicals to another research station to sell them there to get a better price. So I think it's going to be very interesting from a trade standpoint to see how all of that kind of comes together. Now, one of the features that I think that is going to kind of really make this possible is the fact that in 3.9, we are supposed to be getting the economy display terminals. Why can't I talk today? Terminals. So, being able to display, how dangerous an area is, what the prices are, things like that. As that seems to be really kind of the groundwork, the foundation for this level of trading between two star systems. So it's going to be very interesting to see once the economy kind of comes to life and accounts for an oversupply or an undersupply of goods, that we now have the resources also being put in the game to monitor that and basically benefit from those conditions. having all of that in place prior to the arrival of a second star system seems like a pretty good idea, and that seems to be what it is on the roadmap right now. Now, while all of these improvements are indeed going into the game, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming between now and 4.0, salvage, of course, making the Reclaimer not a dead ship, the Vulture coming shortly thereafter. There's a lot of cool systems, refueling and whatnot, all coming into the game. However, from a pirate point of view, one of the most critical things that we would need is player-driven interdiction, which is not there. It is not on the roadmap, and it is probably still something that CIG is struggling with to kind of figure out what's fair, what's not fair. And the current NPC-driven interdiction is kind of a joke. Let's be honest. It really is. And it's not because, developers are dumb or anything like that. But it's just the NPCs just, it's like stop or we'll shoot at you very, very slowly while you just speed away from us. And once you're away from us, you're just going to hit your quantum anyway and move along. So there really isn't, it's going to be a high time for traders, but I think for pirates, it's going to be more about kind of hunting down and destroying NPCs and then salvaging their ships and their components to either use or to sell. I think that's going to be kind of where we're going to be at for a while, at least until player-driven interdiction is a thing. And that's when I think you're really going to get to the point, at least for piracy, where we're actually able to snag big cargoes off of ships and that sort of thing. And in the beginning, because of the way it is, it's probably going to be easier to hit NPC ships and steal their cargoes than it is going to be hunting down player ships. But once again, there's a lot of pieces that have to come together before we can see how that is really going to shape up. But I think that is going to be kind of like the big picture, the things that we're going to see immediately with the Nyx system. The only other thing that I think is going to change, and this is something that we've talked about on this channel for years, which is the problem with small ships and their reach and their range. And the first really big hint that we got of this was really when the Vanguard was released, and they were like, oh, this is a long-range, deep space heavy fighter. It can go all the way to the next star system. And a few of us were kind of like, huh? The next star system? That doesn't seem that far. But, most of us come from different video game backgrounds where the next star system was just like not a big deal. It was like the next zone in any MMO. So it didn't sound like it was all that far, but when you think about the smaller ships and the type of reach that they have, I think there's a lot of people who are going to start looking at things like the base level Freelancer, the base level Cutlass, or the base level Connie, and they're going to start thinking like, shit, if I really want to go out and hit all of these destinations, I might have to pick one of these ships up. So we might see a lot of people divesting out of fighters and reinvesting into bigger ships. That might be a movement within the community that we might see, which to some people might sound like a bad thing. But if you think about it, if it's something that reinforces and encourages group play for rewards that match the effort that it takes to put a group of people together and complete missions together and be rewarded together or trade together and work together as a team, if the game lays a foundation down that encourages that type of gameplay and makes it something to be sought after, then that's not altogether a bad thing. So even if someone doesn't really have that ship or doesn't want to spend the money on one of the bigger ships, if there's a really strong financial incentive for them to crew someone else's ship because the money is just too good, then even if they don't have that big ship themselves, they might find that flying on someone else's big ship is a much more lucrative way to get themselves to a ship like that. So I don't think that that's going to be altogether a bad thing for anyone. But we'll have to wait and see how things take shape. Anyways, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.